In my opinion, the most comforting dish would have to be lasagna. Every year I love to make you a few varieties of lasagna, and this one came about the other day when I had leftover chicken cacciatore. So this is a chicken cacciatore and ricotta lasagna. It is to die for. So let's get on with the chicken cacciatore. A large saute pan just like this one. We're going to turn the heat on to a medium to high heat. We'll add a good glug of extra virgin olive oil. And we need to season this, so a good pinch of salt all over and some pepper. Now, this is called a chicken Maryland, and it's called a chicken Maryland because it has the chicken leg and thigh attached. So into our hot pan, lovely sizzle. You'll need 4 chicken Marylands for this. Now, I haven't seasoned this side, so I will add some salt and some more pepper. Now, while that's sealing off, let's get onto the onions. You'll need 2 onions for this. I'll grab a nice sharp knife. So just slice nice and thin. So 2 large brown onions for this recipe. Done. And no tears. Excellent. Now we're going to turn over our chicken. Got some good colour. We want colour on our chicken where we're making a stew like this because it means flavour. I say it a lot, but it is important that we get this step right. So we'll give that a few more minutes on that side while we prepare our garlic. So 3 cloves of garlic, and we'll just bruise them first just with the palm of your hand and then roughly chop it. Traditionally, in a chicken cacciatore dish, you would have some olives. I'm leaving them out today because I really want to taste the chicken and the mushrooms. But of course, if you want to keep it traditional, you can put them in. Done. Let's take the chicken out of the pan and we'll just rest it on a separate plate. And we'll add our onions, so lots of onions, but they are going to cook down. See how separate they are? We'll add 1 capsicum that I've also sliced, a red capsicum for this, and another good glug of olive oil just so it cooks nice and evenly. Give this stage some time, so about 5 to 10 minutes on a medium heat until they're really soft and slightly caramelised. Then I'll add the garlic. Okay, while these cook down, let's get onto the white sauce component of the lasagna. Usually I would make a bechamel, but instead I'm going to make my white sauce using ricotta and mascarpone. So in here, we will add some buffalo ricotta. I love buffalo ricotta, has a wonderful creaminess, and we'll just get a spatula. I'm going to add a whole tub of this, so about 200 grams, and we'll break it up. See how creamy it is, light and fluffy. And another favourite ingredient of mine, mascarpone, which is an Italian cream cheese. I love this ingredient. We're going to add about 250 grams of the mascarpone. Now you can see it's quite firm at this stage, so we're going to add some milk to loosen this up and form our white sauce, if you like. I'm going to add another spoonful. Usually you'd associate mascarpone with a tiramisu, but it's fantastic in these savoury dishes too. Now for some milk, 100 mils of milk. And for some flavouring, some nutmeg, good pinch of nutmeg, pinch of salt always, freshly cracked pepper, and a good handful of grated parmesan. Now with the back of the spoon, I'm just going to slowly incorporate the mascarpone, the ricotta, and that milk. This is looking good. Essentially, you want this to be the thickness of bechamel. So if you need a little more milk, by all means add it so it looks just like that. All right, these onions are cooked. We can add our garlic now, and that'll ensure that they won't burn. We won't get a bit of flavour. We'll mix that through. Got some good caramelisation on those onions. We can return our chicken and any juices that are on the plate. Toss them in the onions. And now for some mushies. You can just use some button mushrooms, but I love porcini mushrooms. So a small handful of dried porcini mushrooms, and I've rehydrated it in about 1 cup of water for 15 minutes. See how they've softened nicely? Don't throw away this water because that is stock. So we'll add that in a moment. Grab another knife and just run your knife through the mushrooms. So that is plenty. In they go. And we'll deglaze this with some wine, so just white wine, to thicken this up and also to give it a concentrated tomato flavour. Tomato paste, we'll just stir that through. And it's time to add that reserved porcini mushroom stock. When you pour it in, you just want to leave about a tablespoon at the end because you can see there's a slight amount of dirt. So we'll leave that sediment behind. And 1 can of crushed tomatoes for this. Now we'll just mix that in, and it's already come back to the boil, so that's fantastic. And the lid goes on. Okay, now this needs to cook on a low heat for about 40 to 45 minutes or until the meat shreds away easily from the bone. This is why I love slow cooking so much. So once you've shredded all the meat off, this goes back into the sauce. And I'm keeping it rather chunky. I don't mind it. It doesn't need to be like mince. Now I'm going to use my tongs to place this back into the sauce. And don't forget, we did add 2 bay leaves and some rosemary. So we do want to take that out now. It's done its job. All right, we'll get that board out of the way. I'm just going to fold through the meat. Let's start assembling our lasagna. So I'll just grab a lasagna tray and we'll bring everything over ready to go. And the first layer, make sure you've got an even amount of the sauce and the chicken. We want a thin layer and spread it all the way to the sides and to the corners. A drizzle of our yummy mascarpone mixture. Just a small amount at this stage. And lasagna sheets, I'm using instant lasagna sheets for this. They work a treat and they fit perfectly in my tray. And we're going to continue the process. And the last layer needs to be the mascarpone, so it's nice and creamy and completely coats the top. I'll also add some more Parmesan cheese, and then this goes into the oven, 180 degrees, no need to cover it, for about 35 to 40 minutes or until it's completely tender in the centre once pierced with a knife. This looks pretty good. It smells even better. And whenever you bring a lasagna out of the oven, make sure you just let it rest. It needs to sit for about 15 to 20 minutes at least. All right, let's cut into this beauty. This is super saucy, I can tell already. And then we'll just take a generous scoop of that. Wow, have a look at that. Yummo. Into a bowl. And without further ado, I should have a taste of this. Look at that chicken, it's all shredded, the pasta's perfectly cooked, and the mascarpone has really just melted through that whole lasagna. Now I like lasagna all the time. If I could eat lasagna every day, I would. That's how much I love it. But put lasagna with chicken cacciatore and ricotta and mascarpone, I'm in heaven. I say that a lot, but really, look at this. How good is it?